Welcome. Welcome to everyone to this annual general meeting of the Westway Trust. Today at the Serbian Club, where we'll be looking over the events of 23-24 at Westway Trust, and also at the year ahead and the times ahead for all of us. I want to begin by saying a warm thank you to those at the Serbian Club here at St. Sava for welcoming us into their space. We all know that one of the greatest assets we have in North Kensington is our diversity, is that we are a community of communities. And so it's excellent to be in a space like this that brings to mind the incredible people and places that make up our communities, places that many of us may not have even been in before, doors we may never have stepped through, to meet communities we may never have shared space with before. It's great that the Westway Trust can hold its AGM in another new space amongst our community and hopefully take a small step to introducing ourselves to ourselves. So thank you to the Serbian Club for this opportunity. I also want to say a warm thanks to Sam West, who provided our lovely, beautiful and calming opening. Thank you for your music, thank you for your notes, thank you for your energy, Sam. Some of you may have come here from another space in our community that's opened still relatively recently, Under, for the pre-event. Those of you who have come from that event, I hope you were able to have good conversation and get into any of the issues that you may have around the 23 acres. Our plan this afternoon is to draw this meeting to a close at 6:15 to allow for iftar to take place at 6:29. We'll be going through an agenda that will include our formal business, where we have 3 votes that will take place. At the end of the formal business, we will take members' questions that have been submitted in advance, and we will take other questions from the floor. And ahead of the close of the meeting at around 6:15, at around 6 o'clock, we will hear from a member of the Community Advisory Group to the institutional review against around institutional racism, the 2-2 review. There will be a post-event at the Serbian Club where we can continue questions and conversations. So I look forward to welcoming you, any of you, to that afterwards. Now I'd like to introduce us as the board of Westway Trust. My name is Toby or Tobias Laurent Belson. I'm the chair of the board at Westway Trust. I've been in the position for 5 years now. I'm into my 6th year, my final year of my 2nd term. I'd now like to introduce you to the other members of the board of the Westway Trust, starting on my left.
Thanks, Toby. Hi, everyone. I'm Huey Walker. I'm a member-elected trustee, and I'm in my 2nd term as well. So my 2nd term ends in February of 2026. Nice to see you all.
Hello, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ali Sharif. I'm a member nominated Trustee, and welcome to you all here today. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Andrew Abdeliza. I'm an openly recruited trustee at the board. I've been here almost a year now. It's been great to get to know some of you. I look forward to getting more of you over my time here. I'm on the property committee, and I'm also part of the constitution review, which you'll hear about a bit later on.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Marwan Al-Naji. I am a nominee councillor in Royal Borough of Kensington, Chelsea. I lived in Nottingdale Ward for the last 38 years. I chair the Property in Place Committee, and this is my second term. Hope there will be more for people to come forward, and thank you.
Hi, I'm Minal Patel. I've been a trustee here at Westway Trust for 3.5 years. I am the chair of the Charitable Purposes Committee.
Hello, my name is Mary-Therese Rossi. I am a council-nominated trustee. I represent a ward in the South Borough. I've been here for about 4.5 years, and I am the interim chair of the Finance Committee.
Good afternoon. My name is Jonathan Kelly. I'm one of the openly recruited trustees.
Hello everyone, my name is Ruth Daniel and I'm an openly recruited trustee, and I've been a trustee now for just a year, and yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far, and it's been really good getting to know a lot of you, and for those of you I don't know, feel free to introduce yourself and afterwards. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Neve Graham. I am a member elected trustee, and this is my third and final year at the trust, so I thank you all for your time.
Thank you to our trustees who sit on the board and dedicate so much time to all of our committees. Now I'd like for all of us in the room to take 72 seconds silence in memory of the victims of the Grenfell Tower fire, and in remembrance of all of those members of our communities who have recently passed or been lost. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have a number of apologies for absence for the meeting today. They have been received from Abundance Art, Al Hassaniya, Moroccan Women's Centre, Azza Supplementary School, Echoes of Spain, Gloucester Court Reminiscence Group, Help, Counselling and Support, Latimer Community Church, Midea Somali Development Network, Nottingwood Residents Association, Portobello Radio, West London Bowling Club, Westway Community Transport, and a member from our executive team, Matt Bradley, Head of Communications and Marketing. Okay, thank you. So we'll note that there is a representative from Portobello Radio in attendance. I'm going to say a few words about the year. I look back over 23-24 as a year where the Trust began to take steps towards embedding new ways and creating a structurally better trust. Understandably, the first 3 years between 2020 and 2023 were ones filled with a sense of existential threat and survival for the organisation and its many, many communities. We came into the organisation to discover various expected and unexpected chronic issues with the Trust. But our immediate concern had to be with the acute issues we all faced. But now, as we move beyond that very real and sometimes overwhelming period of challenge that did so much to both exacerbate and expose the inequities in our society, the Trust has set itself to rebuilding its systems and culture so that it can work with and support our communities in the best ways. In doing so, it is set to go through perhaps its most exciting and critical period of transformation. Now is the time to establish and embed new leadership at Westway Trust. I'm into the final year of my second term as a trustee, and although the board can offer me a third term, that would only be on a temporary basis to ensure the strong handover that we started at the end of 2024. I am, of course, very proud to have been part of bringing the Trust to this point, where our communities can genuinely lead and steward the Trust, and our communities can reap the rewards of the 23 acres. 23-24 was a very good start to that handover process, with numerous examples of community leadership being established through trustees, co-optees, forums, panels, consultancy and guidance, commissions, and mutual support, bringing more of our community around the Trust and showing exactly the type of community leadership and collaboration that would not have been possible 5 years ago, let alone 10 or 20, when I came into contact with the Trust as a local artist and market trader. With an ever-growing list of examples, I am confident that the change that our local communities demanded can be seen and felt more and more across the 23 acres. Of course, there is always so much more to do. That really should go without saying. But we have begun to show what is possible. Now, as we move into this next period, I want to be confident that our communities are stepping into and up to the challenge of leadership across the 23 acres. As much as the Trust needed and needs to change, so too do our communities. Change is a constant force that affects all of us. Nothing stays the same. It is not enough to demand change from others without demanding change from ourselves. The nature of the Trust provides an incredible opportunity to ask questions and work together to find answers. And it provides our communities with a unique space to fight bigger battles as a unified community. It gives us assets and a voice that many communities simply do not have. With that comes a level of responsibility. Our communities need to consider what good leadership looks like and what it is. We need to consider how we work together, because when we work together effectively, when we collaborate in good faith, with compassion and kindness, we achieve outstanding things. We need to be honest about our limitations as individuals and as organizations. What can we truly afford to give? What do we still need to learn? The Trust of 2324 can help us meet our ambitions in different ways. We can sit on a panel or a forum before considering a co-optee role. We can join a committee as a co-optee before considering the role of a trustee. We can apply for a smaller grant before we go for a bigger one. We can try trading in a micro unit or a pod before we commit to a larger space. We can host a community event in a small space before moving to a bigger one. We can take on an intern or interim position before stepping into a permanent role. So again, there is a growing list of examples that show us how the 23 acres can now be a useful step in our individual and collective ambitions. But we especially need to consider how to motivate our younger generations to lead and not be put off, as I certainly nearly was, and as I know so many have been, by the pains and frustrations of our elder generations. I am looking toward those in their 20s and 30s and asking, what can the Trust do for you? I am asking, what can you do for and with these 23 acres? And how can we make sure we work inside and outside the Trust in ways that motivate and encourage? Motivate and encourage, not intimidate and discourage. Lastly, I want to highlight a piece of work at the Trust that has been long in the making. There are a few things at the Trust that are foundational to the way the organization operates. One of those things is, of course, the board, and I'm very pleased to say that 2324 brought on a number of local community trustees, along with a handful of co-optees who helped to strengthen that strategic work. Another of those foundational pieces is the constitution of the Westway Trust. As many of you will know, many organisations in the UK operate with a constitution as their founding and guiding document. Trustees sign up to it, and it provides the legal and strategic powers of the organisation. 11 years ago, in 2014, the Westway Development Trust brought in a new constitution and renamed itself Westway Trust. The change was largely unseen by our local communities, and it empowered the board and executive of the time to press ahead with an overly commercial strategy for the Trust. Now, as we reach a point where this organisation is becoming capable of working well with our communities and embedding its role as a community-led anchor organisation, we are beginning work on a new constitution for Westway Trust. Since 2020, as the board became locally led and demographically diverse for the first time, we have been carrying out a long-term review of governance at the Trust. We have had a variety of experiences where a better, clearer, more appropriate constitution would have helped us to make decisions and ensure that those decisions were in line with a community-centered, community-led organisation. Simultaneously, we know that the membership structure of the Trust is central to its being. But we know it is not always as effective as it could be or it ought to be. Or, as we discovered through the community campaigning of Westway 23, not always fit for purpose where our wider communities are concerned. This presents us with another opportunity at the Trust. Another opportunity for the board and staff team to work alongside our fellow community members to do this work and ratify this work in ways that will be another example of a very different organisation working in very different ways. Work will now begin with our communities to craft a new constitution over the coming year. Member groups have already been invited, with some having already met, to support this work. Trustees, past and present, have offered and will continue to offer important views and guidance. The views of our founding elders will be sought. And of course, the guidance of our younger generations will be taken on. This will not be a repeat of 2014. It will be the Trust of today, continuing to take steps forward toward being the Trust that is needed for our incredible, diverse, skilled, and determined communities. I hope many of you here will engage with this critical work and continue to engage in the many ways that you can as the work is done each and every day beyond this AGM. Thank you. Now we are going to hear some reports from our subcommittee chairs. It is within the committees of Westway Trust. A lot of the discussion and the work gets done on specific matters. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to our chairs in turn of those committees for the Finance and Risk Committee, the Charitable Purposes Committee, the People Committee, and the Property in Place Committee. Beginning with the Finance and Risk Committee with Marie-Therese.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm here to talk about the accounts for the year 23-24. And I've said earlier that I'm a council nominated trustee and I am the interim chair of the Finance Committee. I would first like to thank my fellow trustees for their support during the year under review, as we have looked into the Trust's financial responsibilities. I would like to present my report in three sections. First is the figures in the annual report, the key points, and then the areas that the trustees have identified for needing improvement. So first we'll look at the figures in the accounts. The total income for that year was 8.1 million. The total expenditure for the year was 6.3 million. The operating surplus for the year was therefore 1.8 million. Of this, 1.3 million has been invested in the improvement of various properties and public infrastructure within the estate. The remaining £500,000 has been added to the reserves and is being allocated to support a range of projects in the next financial year. In terms of the valuation of the estate, the last time I reported to this meeting, there was a fall in the value of the estate. In this period, there has been a rise in the value of the estate to the tune of £871,000. We have cash reserves of 6 million, much of which are designated for the future investment into the sports centre, the sustainability of the estate, and circa 500,000 is what we are required by the Charity Commission to have in reserves, which represents 3 months' running costs. The net assets, including the value of the estate, are currently, or at the end of the financial year 24, 62.4 million. So going on to the next section. Key points reflected in the annual report. We have made subsidies of 130,000 and we have made rent subsidies of 130,000, and we have made direct financial grants of 260,000. Working capital, which is our current assets less our current liabilities, there is an increase in working capital by 500,000, and which takes us to 7.5 million. We have an increase in working capital, and the trustees consider the trust to be a going concern, in that the trustees' assessment of the trust's financial position is secure for the next 12 months and is consistent with figures set out in the annual report. Trustees also look at a 10-year forecast to assure ourselves that we are considering all risks and opportunities and planning now how best we can avoid those risks. I can confirm that the work of this committee examines the strategic level risks of the organisation formally twice in a year, and we have a strong risk assessment regime for the organisation overall. So finally, areas of improvement. While the financial data is accurate, the statement could benefit from a broader perspective that includes the Trust's strategic achievements. We have made progress on considering our social impact, which will be taken forward. We will report next year on our strategic outcomes as set out in our Horizon Plan for 2022 to 25. We are further streamlining our financial systems, and we are looking for even greater integration with our other systems. This will be part of our ongoing work beyond the year in question. So now, behind me we have, this is the income that we have generated in the year 23 to 24. You can see it as a pie chart there, and you will find it in the annual accounts, I think on page 8. This, what I've explained to you is actually summarised in the chart behind, where you can see exactly where all of our income is coming from. They are actually, they are on page 37 of the annual report and accounts. If you have any questions on the accounts, we're going to go to expenditure. So this is then the expenditure pie chart, which will detail all the ways in which we spend the trust's money. So if you have any question before we move to a resolution, myself and the executive team would be happy to answer some of your questions. Tom. I think we've got another mic. So we're not taking questions. Which one are we doing? Are we getting...
Thank you for that. Thank you for that offer. Yes. Thanks for that offer, but no, we will continue with our committee reports, and then we will come to questions on the finance. No, you'll definitely have time to ask questions. So next up, we will move to the CPC chair, which is Minal Patel.
Good afternoon, all. Short time, so I'll go through our key highlights for the Charitable Purposes Committee 2023-2024. Grants for the community. In 2023/24, a total of £260,092 was distributed in grants to 106 community groups and individuals. There are further details on page 6 of the report. In addition to this, our football pitch and sports bursaries programs delivered in partnership with Everyone Active provided in-kind grants to 142 groups and individuals with a total commercial value of £105,340. This covers things like gym memberships, sports-specific programs, and the extremely popular football pitch grants at Westway Sports Centre. Emergency response grants. Our emergency response grants program evolved throughout 23-24. We expanded our network of referring organizations, and in doing so provided support to 26 people in unforeseen emergency situations. We received a mixture of self-referrals and referrals from 9 community organizations. We're very proud of the new process put in place that year to ensure that all applications to our emergency response grant were processed and delivered within 48 hours of initial contact. Our fundraising support program has been one of the most impactful initiatives where we match community groups with professional fundraising consultants. They identify and apply for external funding on behalf of local groups. During the year, Westway Trust invested around £14,000 with a return to community groups of around £164,000. In addition to this, In addition to this, we offered community organizations a 6-week fundraising support course, which 14 community organizations engaged in. Our cost of living crisis clinic continued throughout 23-24 in partnership with Hogan, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing this right, Lovells LLP law firm. In the past, the cost of living crisis clinic helped 204 clients in North Kensington. Adult learning. 291 learners graduated from Westway's adult learning courses, meaning 2,417 hours of tuition was delivered. A total of 835 students participated across our network of supplementary schools. We provided 43 hours of training for supplementary schools coordinators, which included training in neurodiversity, first aid, and fundraising training. 18 supplementary schools and over 300 people attended our supplementary schools award evening, where 128 awards were given out to the children and volunteers. Nursery and pop-up creche. We secured 3 educational healthcare plans for children with special educational needs with the aim to increase this. We delivered 1,110 hours of nursery care and 768 hours of care through our pop-up creche services. Community development. We provided finance for the purchase of school uniforms for families on low income. We delivered over 1,800 hours of community development support. This includes 17.5 hours per week supporting the traveller community in stable way. We awarded £11,700 for gym memberships, football sessions and climbing activities. This is in addition to our sports bursary programme. Events and community activities on the Westway estate. It is our ambition and our goal to ensure that the 23 acres of estate be fully utilised by our community throughout the year. To that end, we have actively worked with community organisations across North Kensington to provide guidance on issues around event licences across the public realm. In 23-24, we issued some 21 licenses to community groups to hold events and activities across our estate. Some of the standout community events in that year include Jamaican Independence Day celebrations on Portobello Green, Bay 20 Family Fun Day on Maxilla Gardens, community iftar events at Maxilla Gardens, and Age UK pre-carnival under the Portobello Market Canopy for the elderly. My experience on the Charitable Purposes Committee has been a positive one. There is so much we have achieved, yet, as the Chair says, there is so much more to do. The trustees and co-optees on the CPC are adamant to scrutinise projects and process on behalf of the community and the members to ensure they are provided with the best opportunities as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Manal. So as well as chairing the board, I've also been very pleased to chair the People Committee since 2022. The committee's main roles are to oversee the Trust's people strategy, policies and processes, ensuring they support the Trust's determination to put the community at the heart of all we do, and our ambition to become an employer of choice. The committee also oversees work on trustee recruitment, induction, training and development. I'm just going to go through a few things that the committee has gone through over the past year, or rather 23-24, sorry. We've continued our development of the staff wellbeing programme in conjunction with our staff, including through the introduction of a staff wellbeing plan. We had 66 staff on our payroll at the end of March 2024, with 19 different recruitment exercises taking place, approaching 400 applications received in total. There was a particular focus during the year on overseeing and reviewing the plans and progress towards working towards our next external assessment with investors in people. I'm pleased to say that although the assessment took place after the period under review at this AGM, we were accredited recently Silver Standard, 2 levels up from the previous rating. The annual staff survey continues to provide us with valuable information on aspects where staff feel we are doing well and those that require further development and improvement. We continue to oversee progress on taking forward the HR-related recommendations from the Tutu Foundation report, including the review of our use of 0 hours contracts and starting the process of moving staff from 0 hours to permanent contracts, if that is what they wanted. Offering every departing staff member the opportunity of an exit interview, and refreshing and updating the EDI data in preparation for future publication. We recruited 3 new trustees through an open recruitment exercise that concluded with our trustees here, Andrew, Ruth, and one trustee who's not currently with us but is on their way, Des. They joined us at the end of the year under review. We also launched during the year an election to recruit new trustees elected by our members, and this resulted in Ali joining the board as well, and Huey being returned for a second 3-year term. The arrival of these new trustees has given the chance to put into practice an expanded induction program for new trustees that's been developing for a while, and feedback so far has been very good. As part of our increased focus on community centering, I'm pleased to report that about 20 community members in total were involved in the different stages of the trustee open recruitment exercise. And I would always recommend and ask for people, as many people as possible, to get involved in those processes. We've also been inviting community members to sit on selection panels for a number of staff roles at senior manager level and above, as well as roles that are directly engaging with the community on a daily basis. These insights from the community are critical to good recruitment at Westway Trust. We also looked at ways in which we can enhance our training and development offer to trustees throughout the period of their trusteeship, including the introduction of a personal allowance for each trustee to undertake training and development opportunities of their choosing, to enhance their effectiveness as trustees. And finally, my grateful thanks to our small HR team who have worked hard throughout the year to deliver the good progress that is continually made. Thank you very much. And lastly, to Marwan, the Chair of Property in Place.
Yes, he's elected the eldest man. Okay, good evening. As a chair of Property in Place Committee, it's an honor to serve with my other fellow member of the committee, which consists of 2 other trustees and myself, and a couple of co-optees who made fantastic contribution to the committee decision, which we scrutinize the allocation and other matters regarding the estate. One of the co-optees is here. Thanks for her fantastic contribution. The committee guides in principle the strategic development of the estate throughout the Westway, where we provide assurances for good practice and to scrutinize that the estate is being assigned and properly aligned to our strategic objectives. This turn saw an increase in the income in the period 23-24, as you saw earlier in the account, for about 970,000. And this is due to due diligence of our property management, who pursued the collection of rent and in a fair, transparent way, where we set, I set up the rent concession panel, where every case being reviewed accordingly. In 2023, the Property in Place Committee sought the commissioning of the audit to detail estates for sustainability, accessibility, and security across the estate. And we are continuing to make sure that the provision is going forward to address all those known issues, especially regarding antisocial behaviors and other issues regarding flight tipping and so on. And safety is of paramount importance in our place on the estate. This is always as well to be environmentally friendly, that we try to improve the energy efficiency of the buildings during their planned maintenance and work, which were planned and carried forward across the estate. On the fairness regarding embedding and reviewing the the Tutu report, we conducted the second review, which was published with 5 new spaces being made available for use during that period for our meanwhile use by local communities, groups, and local businesses and enterprises, as well as groups from and led by the African Caribbean organizations. And this is being highlighted in the works being partly completed under the phase 1 of the Community Street Project. With community centering, has been highlighted by the chair earlier, and this is where we are moving forward for the future. We focus on the mutual fund, which was taken with the trust, with the collaboration with GLA for the future neighborhood that being made available for greening throughout our state. We were successful with different projects, including a number of different elements that's been taken so far, as you can see across the state. And of course, the work is still ongoing. The funded activity in the subsequent year, hopefully this will conclude some of the major work we already started in the community spaces. The trust conducted an independent review of Bay 20 that was open to serve the community and to help the current operator. As you can see, there was slight changes in their operation following COVID, and thanks to their tireless work in addressing the immediate need of our community during this vulnerable time of COVID. And they continue the support from the trust to revisit and open that space for our community. We continue to improve our working relationship with the council. As a councillor, we see the shortfall of our council. Therefore, one of the examples is the outside the arcade, for example, where we try to work in close collaboration with the council. Where we recently had a visit from the deputy leader, just to show him the level of need for closer collaboration. I'm really grateful to our committee that their continued effort in addressing serious projects like the one you are familiar with under the Stable Way that was outstanding for more than 15 years. Now the Imperial College taking a keen interest, and the Director of Development, she came and presented a paper about that recent development with Imperial College. This contributes and this details being it's on their website now with Imperial College. The second being the development of Maxilla area, which is overdue, and including the Hope Garden being done by our local residents who tirelessly work beautifully to support the Grenfell community during that place. We also continue to review our state charges. Because we are a charity, we are not commercial, and as the chair highlighted, moving away from 2014 dilemma into community-centered. So we are reviewing all the charges in line with the strategy and our responsibility for the Charity Act, under the Charity Act 2018. So as trustee, we have an up-to-date understanding of what's being laid upon us in order to satisfy our charitable objectives. So we also progressed in payment plans where individual organizations who suffer or they need our help through a proper financial plan, working on one-to-one basis. And this is a great effort from our property team to really be fair in addressing that dilemma. In conclusion, I really feel that there are so many things need to be done and continue, and these are different progressing initiatives that working across the state through the state strategic plan that's been developed by our chief executive and her team in approval with the board. And then we hope to continue further collaboration with all of you in order to achieve a fairer and greener area for our community and working together for the future, for the prosperity of our area. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marwan. And so moving into the formal business, where we have 3 votes, and we will take questions before those. So we will discuss the 3 votes, including, firstly, the vote to approve the minutes of the annual general meeting held on 17th of July 2024. Secondly, the ordinary resolution to receive the trustees' annual report and accounts and auditor's report, where we will take questions from the floor. And thirdly, the ordinary resolution to reappoint Moore Kingston Smith as Westway Trust auditors and authorise the trustees to fix their remuneration, where we will hear also a statement about the auditors. So, moving to the first vote, we will move to... So, first of all, we'll move to the members to approve the minutes, but before we go to the vote, we will take questions or points. Go for it. Yes. No. We're going through a process where we will take questions and comment. That's why the next vote is to approve the minutes subject to questions. Yes. That's the way it works. So, we will first go to the vote to approve the minutes, but ahead of the vote, we will take questions on the minutes. Yes. That's fine. Yeah, matter arising, that's fine.
My matter arising is I raised the point that Tom's been trying to raise last year to say that I think a correct order for a meeting is questions before being asked to vote. And so I raised that last year. It's in the minutes, and I think the minutes say that it will be considered. So my matter arising is, has it been considered yet, or
okay,
or
yes,
you know, so
we'll have
we
questions. Yeah, we're not going to have a vote before we have questions. But I was just reading out the process of the different votes that we're going to take, and then come to the questions before each of those votes. So, questions.
Can I just say that this is in regards to the minutes last year, okay? Now, received the minutes. I'm a member organisation. I'm from Response Committee Projects. I'm also an ex-trustee who's thrown off of the board. But anyway, that's another story. In regards to your minutes, I responded back to Martin Parker, Venu, Deepa, and also to a number of other trustees. And I said that there are amendments that needed to be made for the minutes. And I've looked at the documentation, and those amendments have not been made. There's no trace of any contribution that I made to the meeting, to the AGM last year within the minutes. And there are certain aspects of your minutes that do not apply, are not reflective of the board or of the community and of their opinions, concerns. The minutes that you've provided do not provide an in-depth analysis of how we feel about, or certain members of us feel about the trust. Okay? So in regards to, let me just get into my phone. So Mr. Belfon, you said in, page 3, during 2022 to 2023, we welcomed the new trustee, Neen Graham, who had continued to embed a completely new demographic of leadership at the trust that went against the norms of the third sector. Our governance was now more diverse, more black, more brown and younger. Now, when I left the board, which was, I think, the 27th of March 2023, I was the last, and I'm saying inverted commas because obviously we're talking about mixed heritage here, but I was the last black trustee that was on the board. Okay? Now, from the time I left up until, because you've now referred to the later trustees that joined the board, which was probably, I don't know, was it February 2024 or when did the other trustees join? When did you join? Sorry? It's just a year now. Yeah. So during that whole period, there were no inverted commas and for no offense, black trustees on the board. Now for an organization who's going through an institutional, no, but I've already said that we need to have more diverse reflection Moroccan trustees. I've already said that ages ago. Okay. That hasn't been picked up. Okay. Did you not read what it said? More, what did it say? It said more black, more brown and younger. Now Miss Graham is the youngest trustee on the board. I don't see where the trust has been younger. You stated here the board was more black, more brown and younger. Can you refer to that and what you mean about that, please? Because there was no, as I said, black trustees on the board for a good 11 months.
Okay, thank you.
And we're dealing with institutional racism on the trust. So this is repetitive behavior of the trust. Can you address that question?
Yes, certainly. So I appreciate your opinion, and of course you're free to have your opinion. I appreciate your opinion, the opinion you've just shared. That's your opinion, and that's absolutely fine. You're free to have that opinion and that view. However, I share a different view. I share a view that actually we are, as black mixed heritage people, we are black. And I do not share the view that myself of being of mixed heritage means that I'm not black. I also right. Well, because there are numerous trustees on this board, as there were at that time, that I consider, and again, this is my view, this is my opinion, because it was from my statement, and I'm free to have that statement as much as any of you are free to have your opinions and your statements. It was my opinion and my view that at that time, we have absolutely gone through a process that means that we've had more black and more brown people. My father was from the Windrush generation, and so I like to think that I actually have Caribbean heritage, and I consider myself to be black. We are able to consider that for ourselves. In terms of age demographic, it's inarguably a fact that the age demographic of the board has been reduced from what it was in 2014, where the majority of board members were in their 60s or 70s. And now we are into a situation where we have trustees who are under 50. And so it is a better representation of a younger demographic in our community. So those are the facts and those are the things that I put forward in my statement, which of course I'm free to do. Yeah, sure. I'd have to go to an officer to tell me. Yeah. I'd have to go to an officer. Is it in the minutes or is it in? Could you please, Shireen, could you please identify where that is? Are you talking about in the minutes or are you talking about in a report? In the current accounts? Yes? Yep. So we can take that question in the accounts section, page 49. Yes, we'll take that question because it's to do with the accounts in the accounts vote in that section, and we'll respond to that. Are there any other points on the minutes before we move to the vote? Yes, please.
Thank you. I noticed Matt isn't here this year, so the PA system is working. Well done. Well, what happened last year, half of us couldn't speak because the PA system didn't work when Niles got up to speak. It wasn't an accident. Right. Allegations about racism. We've got a very nice little bit of spin, sort of classic Westway Trust spin, that there was one allegation and that was properly investigated. You never investigated Shireen's allegation, did you? You just passed it around for 2 years. Now, the allegations of racism are Lisa Thomas. She says, contact her through her lawyers. You said, she won't talk to us. She said, contact her through her lawyers. Value of the complaint, about 60,000 is my estimate. Okay? MZ Hayward, hatred of heterosexual black women, 2 protected characteristics, about £10,000. Mary Faris Ngoda, 3 serious incidents of race, gender, sexuality, discrimination, about £80,000. Shireen Williams, as I said, on several occasions, gender and sexuality, £50,000. Total, £200,000. And we get this blag in the minutes, which is classic Westway Trust spin. We have investigated 1 allegation. We only had 1 complaint. We rejected the allegation. I mean, I am just astounded. And racism isn't even in your risk policy, your risk analysis. 40 years, Tutu said, there'd been racism in Westway Trust. And what did you do? A few seminars? And that was it. So could we do that all over the world? Could we have 6 hours of seminars for everybody on the planet and racism will go? It will be absolutely fantastic. People are suffering. Okay, my main point there was point 10 on the minutes on racism is a blag. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Any other questions or points on the minutes? Come to you first and then at the back.
By the way, from Lancaster West Voices, and I'm the manager of Lancaster West United football team as well. Nice to meet you. As you can see there, the Moroccan community have been here. We did mention this in the last AGM. There was a few Moroccans there, but I feel like we're not getting represented properly. Yeah, we've been here since the 60s, just after the Windrush. It's the biggest Moroccan community in Britain. Yeah, especially in London. And we feel like there's not one member, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Is there a member on the board that is from Moroccan heritage?
I don't believe so at the moment, no.
I think that needs to be looked at. No, I'm not saying you're not doing a bad job or a good job. But that's something that definitely needs to get looked at. And I think the Moroccan community is not getting represented properly in this area. Yeah? Just the other day, another community group got shut down. Yeah? And I can see the ladies here. Nice to see you girls. Salam alaikum. And at the end of the day, we've been there since the 60s. Yeah? There's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of Moroccans in this community. And we need to do more for the Moroccan community. I'll try and do my little bit, but that's just a little bit of football. Yeah? We need to do more. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Thank you. I look forward to more people from the Moroccan community coming to the trust and us reaching out. There are spaces, there are co-optee positions, there are panels, there are recruitment exercises for trustees, and so we need to do more and get more of that representation. Absolutely. Thank you. Noted. And, yeah, at the back. No, nothing. No, nothing, Gigi. Okay, any other points or questions? And this is on the minutes.
Hello. Yeah. The gentleman here, the councillor. Good evening. I want to find out the councillor in this borough. Right? Last year I was told that the council took £35,000 from Mango Steel Band, which was given by Ilya for the steel band. Right? And Venue promised me that they will deal with it and get the money back. I had to put it in writing for her. And then this year she's come back and told me I have to do it in writing again. So I don't know what game's playing. Because this money was given to us for the steel bands when they put us out from under the Westway and for putting up a sign say vote Labour. And after that, it was racism right through. Till today, they still pestering us. Earlier put us in the schoolyard, in the annex in the schoolyard, across the road there. And when Miss Thatcher was going, they wrote to Elia and tell Elia to get rid of Mango because they will have trouble getting rid of us when they gone. Elia turned around and gave them 45,000 pounds for us to put Porter Cabin under the Westway. They took the money, they tell us they didn't have no space. I showed them space. They sent me to the planning department. Then they said, all right. I went away on holiday. When I come back, they give me 3 days to put on Porter Cabin, sewage, water, and all that. So I said, well, forget it, you keep the money. Right? But when this racism thing come up now, it's all come back to the front. So I'm saying we need that money because what they did, they break down the annex in the school there and put all the pan in the middle of the thing there. When we went to get the reporters, they put it in the library, in the basement, right? So we've been anywhere we go, we under the Saga Center, which was a thing for years. They send somebody to buy it. Was in Oliver Tom's, opposite Honeyman's Park. Blair put us there for 3 months. They sent somebody to buy it. And anywhere they go, this is the racism with the trust and the council. Now they're saying, I know the trust and the council are the same body with Roger Maitland, and all they had about 10 councillors and judges on the panel. Right? Because I used to have to face them all the time. With the racism, they charged me for criminal damage. Up on the Westway, they were to take out the floats. I had a 3-year lease. Took out the floats. I had 3 more months to go. As I come out for carnival, the fence it wrong. So that we couldn't go back in. So I cut the fence, put back in the float and welded it back. Next thing, they took me to court in the Strand. Right? They charged me 4,000 pounds behind my back because I make one appearance and they tell me I didn't have to come back. And they do the case behind my back because I never get to explain that when the fence hung there, I still had 3 months to go before they put me out.
So I understand this has been covered a lot and Venu has been trying to work with you and support you, engage with the GLA and engage with the council to sort this out and go through the papers that are in existence and actually sort this out. But Venu can definitely answer this in more detail in the general questions. Venu's probably the best person because you've been... Yeah. So Venu can respond to it properly. Venu is the best person to respond to this in the general questions. Absolutely. That's fine. Venu will respond to it properly in the general questions because it's an important piece of work you've been doing.
And now up to today, we have kids that end up in prison.
Absolutely.
Because they're on the street.
Mm-hmm.
And what you all don't realize, they close down every youth club and the steel band is the only thing that can bring the youth off the street.
Yeah.
You see? And you all don't understand. One pan alone, you know how much for a steel pan?
Understand. This will be answered. It will be answered more fully and responded to more fully in the general questions. But it's...
You're all supposed to give me back my money.
Yeah. And that's what the work has been to try to do that. But that's to be dealt with in the general questions. At the moment, it's time to go through the vote and go through the formal business of the AGM. That is how we need to do things. And we will come to this in the general questions. Oh, absolutely. It's good that you've brought it here. But it will be addressed in the general questions. Thank you. So. Right. As far as I'm aware, you've had those conversations and you've had that engagement and communications with Martin, our lead of governance, and there's a good reason why those things are not being changed. Well, for instance, if you bring an issue, for instance, about who is black and who is not black, then no, you don't have a right simply to change that of your own volition. So, yeah, and I had a right to write it, and it should be in the minutes. So, yeah, I know, I'm responsible, and I take that. So, we're now going to move to the vote for the members to approve the minutes. And as previously, we're going to do this through a card system where members have their different cards and they can hold them up at the appropriate moment, and members of the staff team will go around and collect those cards. So, moving to the vote, and okay, that's interesting. You'd need to give notice for a resolution, is my understanding. I believe it's 14 days to give a resolution, but you would have to do that in writing. It's not possible simply to do a resolution at the AGM just by standing up and saying, I need to do it. Well, I'm not sure who you've been told that by, but that's not the way my understanding is of any AGM. Imagine it was that way. Interesting. Okay. So, moving to the vote. And first, I'd like a proposer for the vote to accept and approve the minutes of the annual general meeting held on 17th of July. Could I have a proposer, please? We have a proposer over there at the back. Can we make a note of that, please? And could we have a seconder, please, for this? Could we have a seconder to approve the minutes? Yes, and we have a seconder right here. Thank you very much. And so, to the vote. Could we first have your cards showing 4 to approve these minutes? So cards showing 4. So in favour of approving the minutes. Thank you. Is that all cards 4? Yes. Thank you. And secondly, could we now have the cards against approving the minutes? That's against. Do we have all? And lastly, could we have abstentions, please? Those abstaining from approving the minutes. Thank you. Thank you very much. So we will then add to these, we have 4 proxy votes. We have 3 for, and we then have 5 as the proxy sees fit, which is myself, and I will be voting for on behalf of those 5 proxy votes. So we'll now receive the numbers of the votes coming from our staff team. Okay, so the total is 16 yes, plus the 8 proxy votes. So that is a total of 24 votes for yes, a total of 3 for no, and a total of 2. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Reverse that, please. My mistake. We don't have proxy votes for this one. So it is just 16 in the room for yes, and that is 3 for no and 2 for abstain. Thank you very much. We're carrying the votes for the minutes to be approved from last year's meeting. Now moving on to the second vote, which is a vote, an ordinary resolution to receive the trustees' annual report and accounts and auditor's report for the year ended 31st of March 2024. We will take questions after a statement from Venu. Oh, sorry, you're on that next one. Sorry, on the auditors. All right. So we'll just take questions, please. Questions on the accounts, please. Yes, please.
What I was going to ask Maria Teresa earlier is, how do you show value for money? There's nothing in these accounts that show value for money. And I don't want to hear a long list of things that you've achieved. What I want to know is how you achieve value for money. I'll tell you how you do that. You take the staff pay, you add on the supervision cost, you add on the overheads and the property cost, and you come out with a figure between £50 an hour and £100 an hour. And I asked that to be done when I was a trustee. I designed a system with Emmanuel and with his predecessor, where we could show very clearly what the surplus was from profit, which was around £3 million, and what was then able to be spent. And what was agreed and what I wanted was that all the outputs would be added up at cost, and you would look at the unit costs going into those outputs, and you would know whether every part of Westway Trust was providing value for money. It is absolutely standard accountancy. It's called management accountancy. I even interviewed somebody with Venu who didn't get appointed, who knew that subject very well. There was a reason why he didn't get appointed. I didn't criticize it. But it's not as if that skill hasn't been presented to the senior management. I still request that in the next 2 years, hopefully in the next year, you start looking at your unit costs. You cannot tell me whether, and I'm not criticizing the people at all, whether education and community support, I've probably got the wrong name, but it is one of the bits which paces onto the public well, okay? You don't know whether those staff are costing you £50 an hour or £100 an hour. If they were costing you £50 an hour, I would be perfectly happy, because I know what staff time, I know how these things work. There's only 45 weeks in the year. When you take off the holidays, you take off sickness and other things, you're going to end up with at least 50. You might end up with at least 100. If you did that as a trustee, I would have started to say, why, and can we improve technology? And questions like that's perfectly reasonable. But I suspect at the moment, you haven't done it. So, MT, it doesn't really need an answer other than yes or no. Okay. Yeah, Emmanuel knows how to do it, but basically, you take your staff costs, say a salary of 30,000, you add on the pension, you add on the national insurance. You then say there's only 45 weeks in the year, because you've got 5 weeks holiday. You're going to have 2 weeks lost on sickness and training and stuff. So your potential output time is only 45 weeks.
Okay, that's really helpful.
Well,
So
I
that's
can send
definitely
you a
something.
note. I can send you a note on it.
Yeah,
because
Marie-Therese, Patrick and Charles in our finance team can take that on. It's a great point, and we can take that on.
Can I
Thank you.
just run through a couple of other things? When I was a trustee, it was agreed by the auditors. When I was kicking up a fuss about the auditors, there's various reasons. It was agreed that they would provide a list of all property existing on the land every year, and that would be signed off by a trustee. Now, the reason why I wanted that, are you doing it? Sorry.
No, please continue, Tom.
Yeah.
Continue.
You've had the valuers report. I get that. I don't criticize that at all. When we lost Ebony Trust, and we lost the Adventure Playground, and we lost the Youth Club for Children with Disabilities, that's all on the Acton Square where the pavement is, we lost asset. It wasn't identified. What I'm saying, I've got to pause for just a minute. What I am saying is buildings have historically disappeared, and the auditor hasn't spotted it. The valuers will say, this is the value of the property. They won't necessarily know whether there's less property than there was last year. Now, in the current financial year, not the one you're auditing, you've demolished property on Stable Way, and you may have a good reason for doing that. You demolished a training space for welding, which I think Westway Trust put about 40,000 in. I don't know what's going wrong. But what I'm saying is at times, Westway Trust is quick to demolish.
So have a clearer record of the actual properties.
The stables is a classic. Sorry, the stables is a classic. Okay. So that was my second question in that section. Sorry I'm taking up a lot of time. The annual report, I think your highest risk is still the risk of racism. I'm not sure who's on your staff team, but when I was there as a trustee, that was a serious problem. And when I worked in the building, it was a serious problem. And I'll tell you what changed. We used to be, when Roger Matlin was on board, he's dead now, so I can't libel him, or maybe I won't get sued, okay, put it like that. Buildings would get demolished, so Ebony Steel Pan got demolished. What I saw was much more racism against individuals rather than racism against organisations. And that's why I'm kicking up a fuss. I just don't like it. Okay, that's all that there is. So I think you should go back to your risk policy and say, where does racism fit into that? And then you'll work out a policy of how do we counteract it, or I don't know whether that's the right word. How do we reduce the incidents until there are no incidents? I'll put it in that. Just going through, I've got 4 points on, okay, page 37, cash decreased by about 300,000. I'll leave that one out. I'll just put it down as a statement. Shireen's point, page 49, the note, that is almost certainly the note from the previous year. I haven't checked back because I was busy this afternoon. I only looked at this last night, okay? It says that I was a trustee that year, or so I did a conflict of interest. I don't think I was, okay? So I think what's happened is you haven't updated the note. And it was Shireen's thing was trustee training the previous, well, when she was a trustee, okay? But what annoys me is when you, I'll say this very quickly, but when you do annual accounts, what I always do is I highlight everything in yellow. Then as I finish the note, I take the yellow off. And so nothing goes into the next year. And it's got through your internal system and it's got through the audit system. The auditors will say, well, it's only £2,000. It doesn't matter. I understand that. They'll say it's immaterial, but it's still not good. Revaluation, page 53, revaluation reserve and general funds are under restricted funds. Okay, that's a technical point. I think that could be made a lot clearer. You separated out from unrestricted funds something called general funds and valuation reserve. That's actually unrestricted funds, but it's technical, so I'll leave it. The note 22 on page 55, I didn't really understand why there wasn't £35 million worth of properties in there. So again, it's a technical point. A scrutiny point, page 56. Explain why debts have increased. Debtors are people who owe us money. That's gone up. So if I was a trustee, I would have automatically said, why has it gone up? And I'd probably get a good answer back very quickly. Note page 57, the VAT, I think you're trying to get back 500,000. I haven't got it down here. At some time in the next 2 years, you should review whether you want all your rent income vatable. Actually, it's not all vatable, but you should review your VAT system. It may be okay. You haven't done it for 10 years. You don't have to charge rent. You don't have to charge VAT on VAT. Now, there's sometimes reasons to do. People who run businesses can reclaim it. Charities can't. So the charity buildings tend not to be VATted. But it should be something that you look at every 10 years. You can only change it every 7 to 10 years anyway, but you need to look at what's to your advantage. Okay. My final point by the look of things is the corporation tax issue on the car parking still hasn't been revisited. I think it's a very simple job. I know you think it's controversial, but I'll support you. You know what it is. Anyway, I mean, yeah, you won't get me a point. That's my comments on the accounts. Thank you.
That's all the subsidiary work, basically. Yes.
Thank you very much, Tom. Tom, I know that you're across our accounts, and thank you for that. And from everything you said, I took 4 good ideas from there that are new ideas that we can look at doing things a bit differently. In the other items, those processes are underway. So, for example, like the last one you mentioned, the car park, that's already underway. But there are certainly 4 good ideas there, which I've noted and will look at. I think the mention of your name was purely for comparative purposes for the previous year, and we hoped we'd made that clear in the accounts. But Tom's name is only there for those for if there is any doubt, it's because it's comparing our figures to the previous year when Tom was a trustee. In terms of why debtors have gone up, we could take that question. We'll certainly take that. We'll write an explanation and we'll circulate it with the minutes. But there are 4 good ideas, so thank you for that. In terms of social value, I'll look at the formula again. We've spent quite a lot of time this year looking at social value and how we quantify it. We now have a formula with which we will apply across 6 domains. We said we would achieve that within 3 years in our 3-year plan, and we have achieved that. So that will be implemented now in the coming year, in the next period, 2025 to 28. So thank you very much. Those are, yeah, sorry.
I still think the shrine is in the wrong year. Okay, it's not on the heading. I did look back last night at the headings because earlier on in the notes, you've got comparisons to previous financial years, but it's not actually on this one.
Okay,
on social value, that is the value of your outputs. What I'm wanting to address is what they're costing you. Okay, it's a different area of accountancy. Okay,
I understand.
On social value, you will show much more than £3 million worth of value added. I don't worry about that. What I worry about is, should it have cost you £2 million to do that, or should it cost you £3 million?
I understand, and I've got your formula.
Thank you. So we'll get into those. And Tom, it would be helpful if you could provide an actual printed copy of your questions there, so we make sure that we have actually got them properly. Thank you. So moving on to the actual resolution. So this is the resolution to receive the trustees' annual report and accounts and auditor's report for the year ended 31st of March 2024. Can I have a proposer, please? Yes, we have a proposer, and can we have a seconder, please? Yes, we have a seconder. So beginning, can we have the votes for, please, that will be collected by the staff team? Okay, thank you. Any further for 4? No? Okay. Secondly, can we now have the votes against, please? Thank you. And finally, can we have any abstentions, please? Thank you very much. Our staff team will collect. And as I mentioned previously, and is for this one, we have a number of proxy votes. We have 3, 4, 1 abstention, and 5 as the proxy sees fit. Thank you. So our votes are as follows. To carry this resolution, we have yes 20 plus our 8 proxies. So that's a total of 28 for yes, a total of 3 no against, and a total of 1 abstention. So I move to carry that resolution. And our last couple of pieces of formal business are our second ordinary resolution. This is to reappoint Moore Kingston Smith as Westway Trust's auditors and authorise the trustees to fix their remuneration. Before I take any comments or questions, Venu will make a statement.
Thank you, Chair. After last year's AGM, TC Group, who were our auditors, advised us that because of resourcing and capacity issues within their organisation, it meant that they couldn't commit to delivering the 23-24 audit on a timetable acceptable to us. We didn't think it was right to accommodate a very significant delay again, because if you do remember last year, our AGM was very late. Therefore, we couldn't reach an agreement with them on a mutually acceptable alternative timetable. The length of time needed to then run a full retender exercise for new auditors would also have severely impacted on the audit timetable and would have meant an even longer delay for the AGM than we already faced. After discussion with our previous auditors, Moore Kingston Smith, they confirmed that they did have the necessary resources to be able to step in and undertake the audit with only a limited delay. We wrote to members in September 2024 asking them exceptionally to approve the appointment of Moore Kingston Smith in the circumstances without going through the formal retender process. The majority of responses from members was supportive of this approach, and that is why we went ahead with the appointment of Moore Kingston Smith. I'll put that in the minutes, Shireen. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on that? Yes, please, Tom.
I was chair of finance, audit and risk for about 4 years. The issue of the audit has come up in probably 6 AGMs in a row. Kingston Smith have been auditors for 15, 20 years. That's actually very bad practice. You change your auditors every 3, 4, 5 years. It's bad practice to have auditors for that length of time. The reason is, and I'm not being rude to the staff in any way, it's about risk. You can get a relationship between the staff and the auditors getting friendly and close, and then the auditors stop being policemen because everybody's nice and everybody in the room is nice, and you don't get the strictness that you need. I was unhappy about Kingston Smith, not just because of the time they'd been there, because I sat through a meeting, I can remember it was in the small finance office, and there were 2 things, but that they produced a letter which was absolutely shocking. This isn't the current audit, this is a few audits away. Absolutely shocking. And then they said in their verbal presentation, well, you must get the VAT right. We're not going to sign off till the VAT is right. The errors, which were down to an accountant who isn't here now, should have led to the qualification of the accounts. It's as simple as that. But they covered over on that. They were being friendly to the management. Okay. We then had an AGM after a tendering process where TCC Group was appointed. I would like to go back to a new tendering process. I'm undecided on whether Moore Kingston Smith should be allowed to tender. I'll leave that to the manager because I'm undecided on that. But we want value for money, and we want auditors to understand that they're auditing for the members and they're auditing for the beneficiaries. We are major stakeholders. I'd have to actually check on the law whether they're auditing for members or for the directors, but we are major stakeholders, and I would like to think they know we've got our eyes open. It's as simple as that. Whole buildings have disappeared and it hasn't come up in the audit, and that's actually quite a simple process. So I don't see this as procedurally difficult. If you vote no, the trustees will have to go out to tender, and then that means we will get I want a fresh look at the whole lot. And the other thing I will say to Vena and the senior managers is, you've had audit problems for years. You haven't consulted me even when I was a trustee. What I would have done is I would have gone out to another firm of auditors and say, we don't actually want an audit. We want our accounts prepared for audit, because that is totally legal. You've got, I can't say how complex your accounting is. I can't say that, but you struggled with that and you inherited a bad situation. I recognize that. Okay. But when that bad situation landed on your desk the second year round, if you said to me, what do we do? I would have said, go to somebody else, TC's group, there's thousands of auditors. Ask them to check it before you send it to your auditors. Ask them to train your staff. They'll do it because you pay the money.
Thank you. We'll take that absolutely on board, and we'll continue to look at this audit situation.
Sorry, just to interrupt you. You should have done this meeting when it's not Ramadan, when people are not fasting, not disrespect you lot.
Well, I'm actually...
you know what? Can I speak? I have to leave now, and I'm really interested in this, what's happening. But I have to leave now because I have to break my fast. Yeah, and you're not going to wait until next week. Wait until next Tuesday. Yeah, Eid is on Monday. Yeah? Then you're going to have more Moroccans coming there, more Muslim community coming there. Absolutely, we're not representing public today. I'm sorry to say that. Have a nice day. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. So we're going to move now to the ordinary resolution, the second, and that is to reappoint Moore Kingston Smith as the Westway Trust auditors and authorise the trustees to fix their remuneration. Could we have a proposer for this resolution, please? Yep. And a seconder? Thank you very much. Okay, could we move to the 4 votes? The votes for. The votes for. Thank you. And the votes against? Excellent. Thank you. And finally, the abstentions? 0. Okay, thank you. For this resolution, we have a number of proxy votes again, and this time we have 4 for and 5 as the proxy myself sees fit. So our totals there are yes are 17 plus 9, so that's 26 for, 7 no, and 0 abstentions. That resolution is carried. Thank you very much. As we bring our formal business to a close, our final item is any other business formally notified in advance, and we have had no other business formally notified in advance. That is the end of our formal business. We would move to members' questions submitted. Well, we have, I think, 1 member's question submitted in advance. Yeah.
So normally at this stage we would take members' questions in advance on the year under review, for which we had none. We had 1 member's question submitted in advance, which I'll take now. We then would have non-members' questions submitted in advance for the year under review, for which we have none. Then we would have had non-members' questions submitted in advance, for which we've had none. And then we would move to open questions. I'm very conscious that people are fasting, and I feel sorry that the person who was speaking had to leave for that. We were actually due to end at 6:15 in order for people to fast. But we still have 2 small items to go. So if we can just bear with us for a little bit longer, just 10 minutes. Anyway, the question submitted in advance, which I will take, is what plans does the Westway Trust have for supporting the Grenfell community recover and thrive for the next 4 years? And that's from the Grenfell Tower Trust. So our answer is that obviously we recognise that we are operating in a community that has suffered trauma. And we recognise that that takes a long time, if ever, to heal. So we want communities in North Kensington to thrive well into the future. Westway has its programmes and grants that take into account the needs of our area of benefit, and the Grenfell community are welcome to apply for those open opportunities. We know we will continue to specifically offer grants for activities to mark the anniversary of the Grenfell Tower tragedy. We're also aware of how the council have responded to recent Grenfell reports, and we continue to remind everyone that we're not the council. The Trust is working on its future planning now, and we will be looking for collaborations and partnerships for initiatives. We know that no organisation in North Kensington can address these needs on its own. We're very mindful that the question comes from the Grenfell Tower Trust, and we're open to working in partnership with the Grenfell Tower Trust, amongst others. Thank you for your question.
Thank you. So that brings to an end our formal business. And what we now want to do is invite the chair of the Community Advisory Group to say a few words before we close this meeting in time for iftar. Then we can come back to members' questions after the break for iftar.
Yes, greetings everyone. It will be brief because they've allowed me 5 minutes to deal with the Gordian knot of Westway Trust. Good practice in 5 minutes. I'd like to ask all of you here because this is getting ridiculous now. Can you not all see this is farcical? Can you not see, as the board that sits here, can you not see what's going on? I'm sure everyone can see what's going on in this room. Toby, you tried to take a vote before, you tried to actually do the vote before questions, and when you were held up, you act like it didn't happen. We're not blind. We see what's going on. That's ridiculous. This situation, this turnout for this AGM is a joke. And it's deliberate by the Westway Trust, because what are they doing? Damage limitation. They are lost in damage control, which most corporations that get accused of institutional racism would be, because they're not going to face the issue. They're not going to deal with the community properly. They're going to sit in this position of power and continue to patronize us about how we should behave and how we should do things. And while we come to this kind of farcical situation, look, what is this? You're taking votes in a room where who's here? That's deliberate. Like the man who said he just left the room. I know loads of people who's not here because it's the wrong time of day. You know that. If I know that, how do you not know that? How do all of you not know that? What's going on that you can't see what's blatantly in front of your eyes? Am I wrong? I'm asking the room, am I wrong? Am I wrong for saying what I'm saying? Tell me if I am. Come on. How many voted? You just passed votes, yeah? How many people voted? Yeah? How many people are in this room, bro? Less every year. Because you've compartmentalized everything. You understand? Now, this is the only space we ever have to say anything, right? You compartmentalize the other parts. Everyone has to go to a separate table and talk and da. This is getting ridiculous now. But I'm not going to stay on that. I'm just going to say, basically, we got 9 days notice for this AGM. You say it's 14 days notice for a member group. Don't you think the advisory group to the Westway Trust should at least have the same level of respect as a member group? No. Okay. Let's carry on. There's a few things have to be sorted out. All right. I had to write this down today because, I've been given 5 minutes. It reminds me of when you go to the council and they give you 5 minutes to deal with 50 years of racism. First of all, I'd like to say a big thank you to the members of the CAG. There's only 2 of us here tonight because of this same circumstance that was mentioned earlier. But I give thanks to them for their constant work in the face of the resistance from the trust to change. We've been patiently waiting for the review of the view from Gus John to appear, but he has been ill. So we're still waiting for that to happen. It's a vitally important piece of work because, as you know, we have mentioned before as the CAG that the trust is not listening, it's not taking on the things that it should be taken on. So we called in one of our elders to come in and help us with this situation, which I think all of us will have to respect what he comes with, which I have agreed to do as well, because I know my elder. That's how we do things, yeah? I hope that when it lands, you as an organization will also respect that, because you haven't respected the 2-2 review. Sorry about this. All right. All right. So, the question still remains. Is the trust a charity or a glorified property development company? Because the latter seems to be the case at the moment. We're arriving in a space where this is just damage limitation. It's plainly clear to everybody who's here. Yeah? And it's worth noting that there's been a lack of commitment on your side to ensuring that the CAG's involvement with all things to do with the 2-2 review. You just haven't shown that respect, which I've just illustrated also by only giving us 9 days for this meeting. I would say there's many things that remain unchanged that still have not been addressed. Our concerns about the recruitment process. So we were part of the recruitment process. But when we decided that there was something we didn't like and we questioned, we were told it's just going to carry on going on the same way anyway. Thank you very much. This is the kind of patronizing behavior we have to deal with. Our ideas being co-opted and reframed without our permission and sometimes given to others along with our raised objections, which are also ignored. At the moment, there's a glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, right? But that happens just before every AGM, which quickly is extinguished by shifting sands and moving goalposts. So I'll be skeptical for now. So although you paint a very pretty corporate picture of how well you're doing, right? Until this community is satisfied in terms of, as you know, with the reparations framework, then you can give yourselves glowing reports. I noticed you said you got a silver award or whatever. I remember Angela Conville got an award for something she didn't even do. All right. Another thing about the reparations framework. I want to make it clear that this is another mistake that you've made. You made a decision at a board level to write out personal compensation from the reparations framework without consultation with the CAG. So we're developing a reparations framework with you. You did not know what reparations was when we came to you. We taught you what reparations is. Now you want to show us what reparations is. Yeah? You want to make unilateral decisions over something you didn't create. It was brought to the table by the community. Yeah? The trust was never talking about reparations before we started talking about reparations and a framework to go with it. And those principles. And you're failing at the first principle, non-repetition. And if you can't get past non-repetition, then nothing changes, does it? Because that's the first principle. As long as you keep, I know I'll have 2 minutes left, but I'm going to try and go in as fast as I can, Benny. I'm trying to go as fast as I can, Benny. Please. Lord have mercy. Come on. All right. All right. If I don't get through all of this, I've only got 2 minutes left, because there's still a lot of stuff I need to say. But if I don't get there, I have to say this today. There is a ridiculous rumor going around in this community that the CAG has received £450,000. Now, obviously that's been spread with someone who has other interests, but I'll tell you, I'll kill that rumor today, right here, whoever started that rumor, by this simple fact. The CAG does not have a bank account. We have never had a bank account. The CAG has been working voluntarily for our community for going on what? How many years, Venu? How many years, Toby? With no pay? Yet people are spreading rumors that we've got 450 grand. I'm killing that here today, because we don't even get paid for CAG meetings. The only thing we've ever been paid for is the reparations we work and the anti-racist policy that we are now working on, yeah, which is coming when? How many years later after the fact? So how does racism stop in the Westway Trust if you don't have an anti-racist policy or a method of dealing with racism? How does that work? How does that work? Yeah? Can you respond? No, this is my 5 minutes. You've had your time to talk. You had your corporate blurb. Let me have my community talk. Yeah, you had your corporate speak. You had your double speak. It's time for me to say what me have to say. We don't get a chance to actually respond to some of the rumors that spread. Also, I won't call names, but one of your staff spoke to another member of the community and told that person, another member of our community, African Caribbean community, that I was against his project. And that man came to me and said to me, someone from the trust has said that I'm against his project, yeah? From your, I'm not going to say which one of you it is, but you know who it is, yeah? Because you probably had a complaint from that same elder right now who came to me, yeah? And said to me, Niles, this is what I was told, but I didn't believe it. And this is what you got to start to realize. People's running their mouth. Best watch where they're running their mouth because you don't understand how linked we are in this community. You don't know how many people that we have relationships that you will never understand because as I've told you, Benny, you don't know the community and you don't know who's who. Yeah? So if you want to look at where money is going, if anyone wonders where money is going to, just check the Westway Trust accounts, yeah? And check the people who point fingers at other people and claim that they have this and they have that. Yeah? Just do that, yeah? And my last comment will be, the trust is not fit for purpose. It never has been, and in its present incarnation as a property developer, will never deliver what the community truly needs and requires. It is at present incapable of seeing past its corporate facade and protection of the brand to the point of disabling anyone within its ranks who would dare to make a real and tangible difference outside of tokenistic gestures and patronized servitude. The struggle continues.
Thank you very much for that last piece to the floor. Thank you for attending our AGM. We are now breaking for food. My apologies to any of those who wanted to break and needed to break for iftar. We are breaking now and we will then pick up members' questions or other questions from the floor after we've eaten and sustained ourselves. Thank you very much. We'll take a 20-minute break. 20 minutes. 20.